Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to every single one of you that's joining us for this webinar entitled Achieving Business Value with IoT. I think it's a very topical conversation that we're going to have today, and it's a great pleasure for me to also introduce our speaker of this morning, Gareth Whittaker, who industry veteran. Gareth's got approximately 24 years experience in the sector and in his career. And currently, Gareth is the Director of Solutions and Innovations for Software AG, based in South Africa. Gareth covers primarily things like IoT, analytics, integration, process optimization, and automation, all those things that are like top of mind, cutting edge technologies. And he's been with Software AG now in this role going on about 10 years. But before that, Gareth's also worked for other very similar enterprise solutions in that 24 years that he's been in the sector. And today, and one of the other things that Gareth does, I just want to mention that as well, because I think that that's quite important. I mean, it's one of those things that we always try and achieve and look at and how we can do better, especially as our markets get more competitive, is that role, critical role of focusing on customer and partner success, applying business understanding of, sort of the outcomes, like, having the end in sight, but then delivering that, of course, through technology and business solutions, always helping the customer to achieve, a desired outcome. So very welcome. Thank you, Gareth. Thank you for spending time with us this morning. I'm looking very much forward to this conversation. And I think if you're happy, I'm going to hand over to you at this stage.
Thanks, Juanita. And hi, everyone. So glad to have you here. As Juanita said, today's session, I'll be talking mainly about IoT and, the business value behind IoT. So let me just share my presentation and then give you the introduction. All right. So can everyone see the slide?
Yes, got it.
Yes, can see it.
Thank you. Okay, so the main focus of this session, and if any of you have been in the previous event with the Digital Council, or Connext, this is a follow-on and expansion of that. So very much talking about the topic of, achieving business value with IoT, and, why is IoT, or why do we think that IoT is a business solution rather than a technical solution? And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about is, how IoT is often dismissed by organizations, by your organizations, maybe that you wish to introduce it to, as a very technical thing, a very niche or geeky thing, rather than for the business solution, for the value solution that it really is for most organizations. So what is IoT? IoT, the Internet of Things. I always say you ask 10 people what is IoT and you'll get 25 different answers, because there are so many different things out there and solutions and offerings that people would regard or offer as IoT. Now, IoT obviously is not a new thing. It's evolved out of things that have come across the years, things that people maybe knew as telematics or other types of solution. But the key thing, and I think this also talks to the messaging of why is IoT a business solution, a value solution for your organization, is it's about the data, right? It's about getting data from anything, from anywhere, and combining it with the other data that you have for your organization. So what we find with a lot of organizations that we work with is sometimes that data is trapped. It's trapped in silos, it's trapped in devices, it's trapped in things. And the true value, obviously, to the enterprise is being able to say, well, get that data from anywhere, right? It doesn't matter if it's coming from a combine harvester or from healthcare equipment in a hospital or from, automated robots or conveyors in the factory or from vehicles and fleets. And you have information and processes within your organization that already are offering value to your customers, to your partners, and to you as an organization. The whole thing is, what value can you achieve when you can combine all of that data together and act on it in real time? So IoT is very much about connecting physical things to your digital business. It's about getting all that information in real time. And I'll also talk about, some examples, some case studies that we've done with customers and that, where being able to get to that data has radically changed their business model, has allowed them to give new offerings to their customers, to be able to resolve things or predict things and take real-time action. And the scope of IoT is basically the actual devices themselves, be it a sensor, be it a gateway, be it a smart-enabled vehicle, a robot, whatever it may be, or even older, what we refer to as dumb machines, connected up to new modern sensors, gateways, etc. It's then about bringing that data to the edge. Now, edge is a very important concept, and especially in South Africa, because edge is saying, rather than bringing all that or connecting back up to the cloud or to your data centers, your organization, what if there are connectivity challenges? What if you have so much data that, transferring it and bringing it back is just prohibitively expensive based on the connectivity and the mechanisms you have? And also, what if you need to process that data so incredibly quickly because it's literally saving lives? I mean, one example, if you look at the data coming, we've got customers who are using IoT connected up to factory robots. And those things are sending multiple payloads per second, right? So massive amounts of information, or even in quality control, where it's sending like camera images and things like that. But so much information is coming. You need to be able to process that, either because of the volume of information or because of the speed with which you need to process it, or just because maybe connectivity is flaky. Maybe your solution is at a mine site, or it's really in a very disparate area that the connectivity is very poor. So what Edge lets you do in the IoT concept is take that information coming from all these different things and process it on site, whether that's down a mine shaft, in a factory, whatever it may be. Take real-time action, feed back the information, the predictions, the communication, everything, turn things on, turn them off, and only then send back in real time, or even only when connectivity is restored, back to the main, back to the mothership. So either to your cloud implementation or to your data center, where again, people from around the world can now have access to that real time, see what's going on, take immediate action, or have automated immediate action, and then connect that up and augment it with information from your existing applications, be it homegrown applications, your ERPs, your CRMs, whatever it may be. I mean, an example would be an end-to-end value chain where perhaps you're managing fleets, and maybe people are taking that as a service from you, as a new offering. You don't want to have to go through the whole rigmarole every time you're signing up one customer or one vehicle of, okay, now we've got to do all of this admin and everything. You want that literally to, as soon as they sign up, connect up the device, everything happens. All the way from sending the information, logging them on, adding them to a fleet, but also augmenting it with, okay, setting something up in the ERP for a billing cycle, or when someone triggers something on the back end that a customer has canceled their offering, you want that automatically to go through everything and disconnect, disable, take that offline. You also obviously want the ability to be able to manage all of these devices, update their firmware, turn them on or off, get all those kind of controls. You know, it might be as simple as disconnecting, as we say, now that someone is not subscribing to you, or in the case of a water management or electricity management system, you might be doing real-time thing like turning certain things on and off to optimize usage, or to remove, you know, turn something off because there's a massive leak. So maybe we're turning off a valve or those kind of things as well, automatically. And again, all fed back with the analysis and everything. So in a nutshell, it's that flow of data that is really what IoT is about. Getting data from things and bringing that into your organization and combining it. Now we see from a lot of the analysts that IoT is making a very big business impact, right? So if you look at the research, you'll see through my presentation, there's from Gartner, from Forrester, from Beecham, from McNation, from a whole bunch of different research organizations, IoT organizations, etc., looking at this kind of concept and saying, what does it do for the business? Now, the perception out there, this perception is a big part of getting business value out of this, because perception can stop people doing things, or it can lead to them actually be willing to try. So Gartner's research is showing that 63% of those CIOs perceive IoT as having a significant material business impact. Not just a technology impact, but an actual, what is it doing for my business? 42% of those organizations having deployed at least one use case, and 80% of the ones that have said that they actually got a lot more value out of it than what they expected when they started trying it. But the problem is, many of those are just in the experimentation phase. You know, they're launching them, they're trying it out. So 73% of that are launching, but only 19% of them are actually ending up in production. And that obviously is where it's generating value for the organization. There's a lot of key market trends as well driving that need for IoT, or more importantly, for getting that data real time and being able to do something about it. So things like customer expectations. The end customer has been pampered by various organizations for what they can do for them. So in their private lives, or even in their professional lives, they're now experiencing real-time interaction, real-time data. So, you know, when they interact with digital natives, that's what they come to expect from all of our organizations. You know, whether we're offering a citizen service, whether we're offering banking, you know, finance, automotive, whatever it may be, even from a manufacturing point of view. Like, well, why can't I have it now? Why can't I see where it is in the supply chain, or when it'll be delivered immediately? Why can't I track that whole thing? Why can't you manage my vehicle for me as a service? There's also the continuous emergence of new technologies that are driving a lot of these trends that we see within our competitors, within partners of your organizations, with your customers, what they're demanding. So things like machine learning, artificial intelligence, you know, Internet of Things, edge, cloud, all of these are creating those new opportunities and innovations. And these are the kind of things that are used by organizations to stay ahead of the competition. It's also about developing those core capabilities in enterprises, not just dabbling. So as you've seen from the figures before, you know, there's a lot of dabbling going on, but only if 19% of that is ending up in production, then what's the actual value to the business? So it's very much about, as we'll go through as well, looking at what business value, not just, you know, can we do this or whatever. Let's first consider, what will it actually do for us? How much, you know, what is the scale of that? You know, we're not going to spend 100,000 Rand to solve a 1,000 Rand problem, but we're very likely to spend 1 million Rand to solve a 100 million Rand problem. So what is it going to do for our business? What opportunities is it going to bring to us? You know? And it's also very much, if you're trying to do this within your organizations, it's very much about challenging perception, right? So one of the biggest ones, and main theme of this, is IoT is a business solution, but it's mostly seen by organizations as a purely technical one. Even when we go into organizations, a lot of them regard it, they hear the phrase, you know, the acronym IoT, and they go, oh, yeah, go talk to technology. Yeah. They don't consider or think let's not think about, the minutiae of it, the devices and the sensors and the gateways and everything. Let's first talk about what could you do if you could get to that data that you couldn't previously get to. And what if you could do that easily and quickly? If you could get something to market very quickly and you could change it rapidly as well. You don't become a victim of your own success. We've seen there were so many different examples and case studies in the market where someone will do something in an IoT space, but they only consider one niche thing, one small aspect. So they build something, or they take a product that just does that. And then the challenge becomes they become a victim of their own success, because when it starts selling like hotcakes, then all of a sudden the solution starts, creaking at the seams, because it was designed to do one thing for a very small aspect. It wasn't thought of and designed in a business plan. It wasn't done as a business case. It was done as a purely technical offering. The other perception that we often run into is that there's a lengthy time to value. Oh, IoT, that takes a long time and it's very difficult and it's very, very technical. And part of that whole business value to it is challenging that perception and showing, both for us, showing our customers, but even our customers. I'll talk about some of the case studies where we have a lot of communication service providers, telcos, around the world who run our product for their customers. So they literally have to be able to also have the flexibility to say, how do I quickly show my customers that they can get value quickly? Not just that you can show me value quickly. So if you are even thinking not just of an offering to your customers, but also offering your customers the capability to do these kind of solutions, you have to be able to challenge that perception and prove to them that this is something that is actually, you can get it up and going quite quickly and then iterate on it and do that expansion. So some of the cases, the use cases I'll talk about is where we've got radical transformations of customers and new business models, new revenue streams and things like that, literally in 6 weeks from inception to production. So that is a common perception you will run into in your organizations, your partner organizations, in the market, is this is a difficult and very hard thing to do, and it takes a lot of time. The other thing is the perception that you have to build the palace before you see any value. So you need to have the whole singing, dancing, with all the whistles and bells solution created before you start getting any revenue in, before you start getting any value for your organization. Whether it's something that you're using to generate revenue, to save costs, to prevent machine downtime, or to optimize your fleets. It's not a case, but this is often the perception, that you have to have everything done and all, this 5-year project or 1-year project before you can actually improve. It's very much about that iteration and how you can do that scalably and easily without painting yourself into a corner. And it's very much, you need to focus on the end goal. We've seen a lot of people, talked to a lot of people who've literally done IoT for the sake of doing IoT, just to say, yep, we did IoT. What are you trying to achieve? Never mind the, oh, I want to connect this type of device or get information from that sort of sensor or, connect this up. But why? What is it that is the end goal? Are you trying to reduce the downtime in your factory? Are you trying to create a new offering for the market that's going to bring you a new revenue stream? Are you trying to optimize the usage of your fleet? Are you trying to reduce water loss because it's a very valuable commodity? You're trying to prevent electricity theft. That's what you're looking at. The rest is easy. I always say the solution is the easy part. It really is the technology, and I challenge all of you to challenge us on that. It's the what are you trying to achieve and how do we measure that we're actually achieving that? Never mind the measure that the technology and the solution is working, but also measure in rands and cents or downtime or citizen satisfaction. What is it? Have we achieved that? And are we achieving it? And are we on track to achieve that? And the objective business case, not the as I say, all the technological aspects, which is the easy part, but what is the business case? Again, to the goal, this is the quantitative of the qualitative. Are we actually saving the amount we thought we would with the solution? Are we actually getting a whole new amount of revenue from this? The other challenge we run into a lot with IoT solutions, both locally and abroad, is pigeonholing. So there are a lot of solutions out there, and a lot of them are very good. The challenge what we find is with a lot of solutions, they're designed to do one thing. Now they do that one thing really well, no faulting them. If that's the only thing you ever want to do, and you've got a solution for that, fantastic. Your problem is solved. But what if you have a broader strategy or broader organizational requirements, and you get something to do one thing? The problem is, and we've seen this with a lot of technologies, not just in IoT. I mean, the ERP one is a good example for me, does really well what it's meant to do. The moment you try and panel beat it into doing something it's not meant to do, that causes massive costs, time, very hard to maintain, very hard to scale. So that's also a consideration that we find from a business aspect when you're looking at doing IoT, is don't accidentally end up with 20 different solutions that you need to have a whole army of different people with different skills to maintain. You can't scale it. Think about the long-term strategy. What are we going to be doing overall? What do we want to be able to do overall? And not just, okay, this one small low-hanging fruit will give us some value now, but don't end up pigeonholing yourself during that. Don't say, great, we've put something in place. If I'm planning an entire journey that involves me traversing roads and rivers and the sky, and then I put my entire effort into buying a car, it's going to get me 1 out of 3, but it's not going to take me the rest of the way. So also looking at it objectively, planning it from a business point of view, not the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. Well, will they? So part of your planning really needs to be about, is this feasible? And this is also why things like being able to rapidly prototype, get things out to market very quickly, and to be able to change them very quickly, rip them completely apart and reassemble them, is very key. Because you also don't want to put in a lot of time and effort, which again, you don't have to, only to find out there's no market for it. There's no customers. So part of this planning really needs to be, again, part of the business case. Can we actually sell this? If it's something we're reselling onto our customers or offering as a service or revenue, or even, is this something that's going to work for us? What is the problem we're trying to solve internally? And that's why the flexibility in being able to try it out quickly, try it out, very economically, and be able to change it and maintain it and support it becomes very much key. The other thing, one of the biggest challenges that we run into, and we've seen with other, even with our competitors and customers, etc., is the death by committee. If you as an organization have many things you can do that will offer you value with IoT, and just with that data flow in general, it doesn't mean that everyone has to be on board and everything has to be planned and this entire thing for the entire organization of every possibility has to be considered. You need something that's flexible enough that you can start off small, start off with different use cases, and then as other people become ready and they know their needs and that, it can handle it. It's not a case of, oh, now we've got to go get something else. Now we've got to go get something else. Now we end up with 20 different solutions, which is just costing us more in maintenance and support and training, etc., than it is actually bringing us or saving us. So very much about saying you can start small, you can start in a corner, but you can eventually have it all for everyone with that flexibility. So that's very key things that need to be considered when you're planning your IoT strategy for the organization. I mean, you've probably seen all of these so many times in so many different presentations, but it's always just a good point to reiterate, especially when you're talking to the business and trying to showcase the business value of what can be done, is it's not just about, what is the cost of doing something, it's also about what is the cost of not doing something, missing that market, missing that opportunity. I mean, for me, one of the biggest examples during the the pandemic has been how so many organizations, if you look at examples like with Skype and things like that, how they had a 10, 15-year lead in the video communication space, and Zoom just completely ate their lunch, because it was very much that, well, if you're not innovating, if you're not constantly looking at what can we do, what can we offer, but what do our customers want? What are the things that they need? And again, not all the bells and whistles, just what do they want, Then it's not the cost of doing it, it's the cost of, well, if you didn't do something, And again, as I say, it's not a case of, oh, we have to start off and build the entire thing. It's do something small, start iterating, see if there's value in it. If there isn't, well, okay, at least you know. But you maybe spent a small amount of money, a little bit of time. And that's a key thing, is to say, what if we don't? What is the cost of not changing? What is the cost of just carrying on regardless while everything is moving around us? And obviously the why. I mean, we've talked about some of it with some of the previous slides and some of the things I mentioned. But very much a lot of the use cases, you'll see some of the ones I talk about, it's not talking in terms of the technology or talking to organization and saying, oh, we can connect up and use this protocol and do this kind of transformation. It's about saying, yes, of course we can do all of those things. That should be a given. You should be able to get anything from anywhere, from any type of device, doesn't matter who made it, from anywhere, and transform it any way you want and analyze it and act on it anyway. That's the easy part. But what is it? Why are you doing it? Are you trying to create new business models? One of the use cases I'll talk about is a customer of ours who completely changed their business model based on literally an IoT solution. And it was done in a matter of weeks, and it really made a massive difference for them. Are you trying to offer customers or citizens new services? A better experience, better service delivery, increase customer satisfaction and retention. Are you trying to go to different channels, different markets, new partner companies? Are you just trying to stay competitive within your own space? Maybe certain players are offering a lot of these new solutions, and we just need to keep pace, or hopefully overtake in that space. And especially things like efficiencies, like the optimal usage of your equipment in your factories, in your manufacturing, in your reclamation plant, your electricity, your water, your whole building management, your air cons, your water, electricity, your airflow, your lighting, whatever it may be. How do you actually do that? How do you prevent maintenance rather than always having to react to it when you get those angry phone calls, emails, or something in the press? And how do you optimize the use of the assets that you have? If you are managing large fleets, or even if you're managing small fleets or one vehicle, or an entire 50 factories, how do you make sure that everything is being used optimally and that you're getting the best possible savings and utilization out of what you've already paid for? So some of the biggest reasons why IoT projects fail, the biggest one, from McKinsey, from Capgemini, and from certain other research companies, saying 80%, like we said, people are dabbling, they're trying things out, they'll do the POCs or the pilots, whatever, but they failed to convert it to a business practice. And this is what I'm saying. Look at the end goal first and work it backwards, rather than the, can we do it? Oh, great, we've done this cool technology thing, but well, now what do we do with it? Does it actually do anything for us? Oh, we didn't think of that. So how do we convert it to the business practice? 65% were saying they could not articulate the business value for investment. So maybe they had this inkling or gut feeling that, this can actually do something really good for our customers. I mean, I've had this, I do a lot of business discovery and business value engineering with customers, where I go and talk to them and sit with them and have workshops with all the people in it. And we just talk about problems or opportunities. Don't even talk about the technology. Let's just talk about what don't you like? What's going on with your, with it? Can you do better for your customers, for your citizens, internally? What are the kind of problems that we're facing? and then look at that and see, is there something that can be done from a technology point of view? And obviously not always. There's a lot of things where like, well, you can apply all the technology in the world you want. It's not going to be able to do anything about that. Maybe it's a training issue, maybe it's a market issue. But there's a lot of things where we say, okay, let's look at the business value first. Never mind how, but if you could do that, if you could reduce that time by 5 minutes, if you could increase the uptime of the production, by an extra half hour, or reduce maintenance, whatever. What does that actually mean in terms of rands and cents? And then we look at that and say, okay, does that align? How do we do that? How do we combine that? Then you can articulate the business value, because you're not going in with a technology conversation. You're going in with a business discussion, saying, if we do something using this magical thing called IoT, what does that mean for your organization? You're going to save this much money. You're going to increase customer satisfaction by this. You're going to get how much more percentage market share. And then prove, obviously, key, you have to prove that. I always say everything runs fantastically well on PowerPoint. But the moment you put it on silicon, that's the true test of it, right? It's saying, does it actually work? And does it work for us? You've articulated the business value, but you have to prove that it actually works. That's why it's very key to do that way around. Articulate the business value, then do the IoT POCs and prove that what you've said is actually what will happen. And think about, what can IoT do for your business? Again, think about if you could get data from anywhere, from anything, and combine it with the data you already have in your systems and your partners and your customers. What would that actually do for your business? I mean, we've got customers in all different verticals and different use cases and areas. As I said, all the way from giant, those ridiculously huge wind turbines, which is one use case I'll talk about later, all the way down to coffee machines or individual medical devices for maintaining, insulin in transit or vaccines, vending machines, all the way up to fully massive industrial machines in factories, in hospitals, down to individual utility measurements at the home, water and electricity optimization, all the way through to the plant. So again, it's about, what does it do for your business? What can it do if you could do that? Never mind the how. The how is where, people like me will sit with you and go through that and say, okay, let's look at that. What would we need? But first, most importantly, what will it do for you, and how much and how long, etc. And then prove and show that the technology does that, and does. I've always said that's always the highest compliment when you get from a customer, where I remember the very first time a customer told me in my career, we turned around and said, you know what, this just does what it says on the box. And that's exactly what you want. Is think about it. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Is there some sort of improvement or optimization or possibility if you can bring in data from anywhere, from anything? And as I've said, and this is a reiterative message for this whole thing, it's about the value, not about the technology. Obviously, the technology has to prove. It has to be, and I'll briefly touch on, yes, you need to have the pedigree, and all the analysts say you're wonderful, and you're leaders of the leaders, and you're the best and the fastest, etc. But even the best technology, the most highly rated technology, the most awesome, works for everything, has all the references and everything. If it doesn't do something for your company, well, it doesn't do anything then, does it? So it's very much about the value that it brings to you. What is that? You need to innovate faster. I mean, you don't typically think of insurance is not the first industry that springs to mind necessarily when you think of something like IoT. But, one of our customers, and I've got a slide on this later, it's taking, hundreds of thousands or millions of vehicles and being able to do real-time driver performance, driver behavior, combining it in real time with the contractual data from the ERP and everything like that. So they can offer things like real-time insurance or driver rewards or reduced premiums, all through connectivity direct to the vehicle. Manufacturers. Manufacturing is a key space for IoT. We have a lot of customers in manufacturing, in industry, industrial usage, etc. But better things all the way down to product usage. How are our customers, as me, the manufacturer, how are my customers using my products? What are they actually using it for? I have an intended purpose or design or idea of what they're using it for. But when I actually look at how they're actually using it, all the way to a compressor, a steam machine, a coffee machine, a vending machine, anything like that, I get a lot of better insight and real-time optimization to say, oh, can I actually offer them new services? Can I actually start offering them the service as a service rather than just as a machine? What value adds can I start offering them that would be a win for both of us? And obviously, one of the big ones is efficiencies. So what are the additional efficiencies that we can realize when we can automate those back office processes direct from the factory robot, from the machine at the customer? Whether that's automated reordering and restocking or quality control. I've got a few where I'll talk about with customers where they're looking at things like, as the thing is going down the production line, they're getting real time, multiple times per second from the actual painting robot or assembly, or the quality of the welding, or even the manufacturing of garments and textiles, doing that automated real time quality control so that it doesn't have to go all the way back and incur a lot of cost or a lot of waste. And then things like being able to offer services not just to control your own product, so for example with utilities like water, electricity, but even to offer to your customers to say, what, as a value-added service, what if you could monitor your own energy consumption, your own utilization of everything within the building, even at an endpoint? So we are maybe selling you electricity, we're selling you water, but what if you could actually monitor your individual usage of that around your entire plant, your premises, etc.? And we sell that to you as an electricity provider or as a water provider. We sell that to you as a service where you can then further optimize your utilization, or even manage the whole building, the whole heating, ventilation, lighting, cooling, anything like that. It just becomes another value add that you can offer to your customers. And it's very much, as we said, about business transformation. So one of our customers, Gartner Denver, so they traditionally were just a manufacturer and seller of compressors. Now, the challenge with that is a very flat product margins and not a lot of revenue growth. And they very much were dependent on the market, on the pricing, the distributor, and it was just very much, that whole reliance on that to obtain the incremental volume. So you're selling a product, but that's pretty much where it ends. And then, there's some maintenance and things like that. They connected up very quickly, as I said, a 6-week project through to production, where they could actually fully instrument the devices, the compressors and that they were selling or renting out to customers. And they could get all the information back from that. So what that let them do is they completely changed their model, the way they interacted with their customers. They were able to transition from someone who's selling or renting out just a compressor to someone who's actually offering air as a service, because that's literally all their customers want. They don't care what the machine is or how, is it this size or is it that color? Or they don't care. They're just saying, all I want is that compressed air at the end of the day. So now their business model, then they could transition that because they have real-time analysis and control of the machines and that they could offer air as a service, a subscription service to their customers. They also then, because they then had full implementation and instrumentation of that device, they could see predictively, what's actually going on with that machine. Is there going to be a problem? Is maintenance needed? Anything like that? So they could reduce downtime for their customers as well. They could also increase their aftermarket parts revenue. And they now have the ability and are launching, greater than 30 new products annually. So just because they have information. So they transition from I'm selling a big machine to I'm selling something my customers want as a service, and I'm giving them all those value adds on top of that, because they know that then the machine will have significantly reduced downtime. It'll have predictive maintenance and a lot of benefit to that. And they don't have to wait long periods for parts or anything like that. Another customer of ours doing robotic paint stations, for like automotive factories and things like that. The challenge was that it was quite heavy maintenance, expensive management, and quality would often suffer because they're not monitoring the performance in real time. Often you'll only find out there's a quality problem when someone does an inspection further down the line. And the problem is, by that point, it becomes very expensive to take that car back, to strip it, to respray it, to re-quality control it, etc. So it was quite a big expense and very laborious and time consuming. The moment you've got the actual robot that's doing the painting itself sending you information that says every 8 milliseconds, right? It's getting 5 terabytes per month per line, detecting those anomalies in real time, and can stop and say, well, don't carry on, because you're just going to create a bigger mess, which is going to create an even more expensive problem down the line. And now they can also do the things like the remote control of the paint robot's air supply and rotation speed. I mean, one of the examples we had there with an automotive manufacturer is they would pick up things like periodically the painting of the vehicles was just terrible. And they couldn't figure out what it was. Like, the painting robots were working fine, everything. But because they connected everything up within the paint booths to the IoT solution, they go, wait a minute. And now this is also using our root cause analysis analytics, which connect to IoT. It would tell them that every time, just before there would be a big quality control issue, some obscure air filter in one of the ducts or whatever was getting clogged. Something they wouldn't figure out until routine maintenance was done and they replaced it and everything like that. So they could in real time go, okay, as soon as that thing is approaching a problem, deal with it. And then we never get these badly sprayed cars. So we don't have to go and repaint them, strip them, quality control them, do whatever, because we all know about it before it happens rather than after it's happened, because after it's happened is always way more expensive. And also PRAB, reclamation. So very much, giving their machines and technology out to customers, but then the expense of those service operations from customer diagnosed problems or having to send someone out, or now there's downtime. So it's quite costly. Again, they could do that full remote diagnosis and repair of issues before the customer is even aware that there's going to be an issue. So rather than the machine stopped working, why has it stopped working? Try and figure it out over the phone. Okay, we can't figure it out, send someone out, fix it, maybe we need parts, etc., 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 which is downtime, which is production impact. If a man magically appears and goes, oh, the data is telling us that 3 hours from now or tomorrow, you're going to have a problem. So I'm here now in the optimal where downtime won't be as costly, and I have everything I need to fix it. So that was quite a valuable transition as well. And the value vision is very much about the what if, So what if you could sidestep those technical challenges associated with building IoT solutions so that the business experts can focus on innovating? And this is very much, I think, a key part of the business value of IoT. Don't make it so complicated and so technical that it takes specialists every time you want to do a new market offering, or you want to change something, or you need to handle something. It's very much about being able to respond quickly to those market trends, the new requirements, the opportunities, and always focusing on the business side of it. The technology, you should just be able to rely on and say, I know no matter what I'm bringing in here, I can connect it up. If some of my customers, new customers I want to offer my solution to you, have got weird and wonderful devices and sensors and gateways from all different providers and that, I don't care. I'm constantly thinking about the business value, etc., knowing that the platform can just handle it and scale to it and secure it, etc. So it needs to be very much that business focused. Rapid change, rapid market offerings, rapid experimentation, fail fast, fail often. And again, the confusion and perception is sometimes like, oh, so you want us to fail? It's like, no, we want you to try things with the right data and everything like that and prove it. But if the proof says that it's not going to work, you don't want to be tied into it. You don't want to have that burden. You want to be able to say, great, cost us a little bit of money, but it actually gave us so much valuable information. It was total. And being able to work with anyone, no matter what they've got, no matter what they're bringing, no matter what they need connected up. Customers, partners, stakeholders. You don't want to be limited in what you can offer out there. You want to be able to make sure, as I said, that it doesn't matter if it's greenfield, brownfield, competitors' equipment, something you've built yourself and the market has never seen before. You know, you've assembled that thing that's going to go into the vehicle, into the conveyor, into whatever. An offering maybe you want to offer your customers, your own devices. You know, you want to be able to know that I'm focusing on the business, the technology is handling all of this for me. You can quickly create and scale a digital products program that provides multiple levels of capabilities. You know, what if you could do that? So again, you don't have to limit yourself in your thinking. You go, okay, we've got a thing that does one thing, so what can we do with that? You just want to be focused on that. If I could get this data from anything, from anywhere, what do my customers want and what would they do for me? Or my partners, or my citizens, or myself internally for my organization? And like I said, this is why things like edge becomes very important in that kind of conversation. Network limitations, connectivity costs, cost of data, you know, speed. How quickly do I need to be able to react to this? There's a very big difference between saying, okay, I'm monitoring a private electricity meter, and you know what, if I get 2 readings a day, cool, that's fine. You know, I can do proper real-time analysis and optimization for the customer. It's a private household. Or what if I'm doing electricity control that is life or death in a plant, that if this thing is active for more than milliseconds, someone could die. You know, I need to be able to handle that immediately, real time, securely, optimally, and guaranteed. And this is quite important. As I said, we have a lot of customers who do this. It's not just about using the IoT and technologies for themselves, but more to offer offerings to their customers, especially telcos, communication service providers. They need to be able to offer their prospects a quick proof of value as well, not just internally to themselves, you know, very short time to market, and being able to operationalize and scale successful projects. Again, you don't want to pigeonhole or paint yourself into a corner. You need to know that if this thing becomes successful, sells like hotcakes, doesn't matter how big it goes, it's going to be scalable, it's going to be available, and it's going to be secure, which is a very key one. You know, we have customers in all different industries, and as I say, maybe you're not too worried if someone hacks the IoT connection to your coffee machine, but you're definitely worried about your patient data, you know, and medical data. It needs to be secured, it needs to be separated, it needs to be controlled. And drive that real-time and near real-time optimization in use cases, combining the cloud and on-premises. And that's important as well. You need to know that your solution can run anywhere, be it directly. You know, we've got customers who are even running directly on the device, you know, making real-time decisions on the device. Or is it happening in the edge? Is it happening in the cloud? Is it happening in your data center? And anywhere in between, it needs to be able to handle as well. And provide those capabilities, not just to your customers, but to your partner, to your end customers, to your internal customers, stakeholders. And empowering yourself with those out-of-the-box capabilities. So get that business value. We've talked about a lot of this. Get that business value out of your data. Take action with it. Not just about having pretty graphs and dials and things like that, but can it automatically flow through your machine learning model, make the decisions it needs to do automatically, and go and either summon a human to do something, or connecting to other systems, turn things on, turn things off, activate a new customer, disable a device, whatever it may be. It needs to be standard, flexible, centrally managed. Again, no matter what you're doing and how many use cases you're doing with your platform, you need to know that It's centrally managed. You have a small team managing that, or having it as a managed service so that it can offer you those kind of capabilities. You don't want to have 20 different things for 20 different use cases, because then you need 20 different teams maintaining that, supporting it, updating it, managing it, etc. You need those common tools and processes, get the real-time insights, but also the real-time actions. Full integration. This is one of the key things, and I mentioned it later in the presentation, is integration is one of the biggest hurdles for IoT solutions and for business value. You need to be sure that what you're doing with the solution can integrate to anything and everything. Not just devices, not just gateways, but my existing systems. Whether it's a commercial system, a cloud system, an off-the-shelf package, or something you coded yourself in the 1980s. You need to have that connected in if it's part of your business value chain. Integrating that IT and OT, the organizational technology and your general standard IT as well. And empower process owners to discover more and to improve faster. Not just the specialists, but anyone. And this is a key thing, especially from an analytics point of view that we push, is you will have limited resources always in data science, in BI, whatever it may be. But the person who operates the machine directly often has way more insight into what is needed and what's actually happening than someone who's a specialist perhaps in the IT, data science or BI side of things. So how do you make it easy for them to use that as well? It needs to be open, supports pretty much anything that you want to bring to it. Self-service, visualization, analyze. Again, to be able to do things quickly, to change things quickly, and to just be able to use it intuitively and bring in all the data. Like I mentioned, you want to do that journey of 1,000 miles. You don't have to have done the whole 1,000 miles before you get anywhere. It's very much about saying the typical process we see with customers is connect. Once you've got the devices connected up, the data is flowing, you're like 90% of the way there, because then the analyze and integrate is very easy. You've got the data flowing. Now you just combine it into the different ways. Is it that dashboards? Is it reports? Is it literally analyzing and flowing through machine learning model in the system? And then the learning and innovating. Great, we've had success. We've saved money. We've saved time. We've made money. But what's next? What more can we do? Now that it's up and running and everything's connected, let's just do it in different things and offerings, and sometimes let it discover for you new possibilities that you didn't even know were there. It's all about that faster time to value. Connecting the devices, analytics and dashboards, integrate applications and build applications. And I'll say that can be anywhere from 5 minutes connecting, 10 minutes to get the analytics and dashboards, and we've done this for a lot of use cases. You'll even see on our website, there's a lot of examples of how you can try this out yourself or connect up devices or anything like that, to integrating and building applications. The reason I caveat this with an asterisk is, I've had projects and seen things with devices where literally it's taken them not even like 30 seconds to connect up and everything like that. Smart devices, especially, very easy. And then I've also found things in various customers which have been dumped on them by maybe not people had their best interests in heart, where the hardware punted as modern devices and technology is actually something archaic. We can still connect it up. We can still get all the information, because you need to know that with your IoT, that's the thing. It doesn't matter where it's coming from or what it is or any combination. You might have bleeding edge technology combined with stuff that came off the ark, but you can still connect it up. You still get that data flow, and you can still do the analytics, dashboards, integration, and then building your own applications graphically on top of that. As I said, one of the biggest challenges to consider is integration. So from a lot of the different, Gartner, Forrester, Beecham, a lot of the different analysts and research say the same thing. 70% of IoT adopters struggle to integrate IoT solutions into their existing workflows, into their existing business value processes within the organization. And then it's just something that sits in the corner and maybe does something, maybe doesn't. Maybe it's dead in the water because it doesn't actually combine with your business. Why is the challenge of application integration? You've got so many different applications. Maybe some are in-house, maybe some are built off, packaged applications. Some are legacy systems, some are cloud. But that all needs to flow and combine together with your devices, with your sensors. All different types of data in different formats, be it industry formats, maybe a format you yourself cooked up in your lab, or something from some different countries, different standards, different protocols, but you need to blend it and have it flow smoothly. And your environments might be distributed, public cloud, private cloud, on-premise, edge, down the mine shaft. Again, all of this should not matter, but it's something you do need to consider. Will my solution be able to do this? And often it's also a lack of integration know-how. A lot of the solutions, maybe they'll say they have integration, but it involves a lot of coding or a lot of manual work or a lot of complexity. It needs to be simple. It needs to be able to be done by almost anyone, so that you have that reliable connectivity, fluent data exchange, you got reduced latency, the data is secure, and you can do it quickly. Otherwise, is that slow time to value, which really holds you back in your business opportunities. I've talked about the Gartner Denver use case, transitioning to compressed areas of service, 16 weeks availability across 6 weeks availability across 16 brands. Talked about the painting robots example. This is an example with those massive wind turbines where we actually connected up the full monitoring and management and remote control of the turbines and predictive maintenance. Because as you can imagine, it's quite laborious to maintain and manage such a large, especially with moving pieces, machine. But being able to know what's happening, is it operating? Can I upgrade the firmware remotely? Can I do anything I need to do and have that visualization and report and things automated? Even things down to, especially things like for citizen, for quality of life. Connecting up, in this example, we've got a lot of automotive examples as well, but in this example, connecting up all the London buses, those iconic red buses, to actually look and say, like, what are the pollution levels? Does it need emergency maintenance? Because now all of a sudden it's spiking and belching out all this poison because there's something wrong with the actual bus itself. How can we actually do that proactively rather than just raising our pollution levels and causing poor quality of life for our citizens? Being able to offer to your customers. So this is one of many communication service providers we have, in this case, Deutsche Telekom, how they use our platform to offer IoT solutions to their customers, to be able to do rapid POCs and then build production IoT systems and offer that to their customers, whatever it may be, a specific solution or even just offering a platform to their customers. I've talked about the insurance model, where with one of the largest insurers in Europe, doing that whole driver performance management, crashes, claims, fully all the way from inside the vehicle with logic inside the vehicle through to the back-end systems and the claims payouts and everything like that. All the way down to the smallest of devices, but arguably one of the most important devices in your business, the coffee machine. Making sure that all of the devices, they transition from a model of, okay, we rent out coffee machines to our customers and stock them with all the pods and everything like that need, but then you get a call or you have a regularly scheduled delivery. But sometimes they haven't used the pods, or they only use half the pods. Sometimes they run out of pods, very quickly. And then now we have to send out someone separately, which obviously, because it's not an optimized delivery, costs us more money. But now, real time, they're saying, okay, how's the machine performing? Doesn't need maintenance. What's the stock level? Do we have an agreement, check our ERP, that we do automatic restock, or that we communicate and say, cool, you're running low, do you want something, etc. So very much streamline the entire process. And I think the important thing is, can we help you? So looking at all that, coming and talking, do you want us to maybe sit with you and say, let's think about your business challenges and problems, and then show you and prove to you that that can be done, right? Our platform, our IoT platform, is Cumulocity IoT. fully integrated platform. You can manage and utilize anything, all devices, all networks, all verticals, all use cases, with all of the connectivity and capability that you would expect. So out-of-the-box connectivity to hundreds of device types and protocols. But even if it's, as I say, a device that does not yet exist, something you're building yourself, can we connect it? Yes, we can. Connect, manage, no matter where it is, on cloud, on-premise, edge, distributed, that you need. Fully standalone and edge as well. Third-party applications, your homegrown systems, ERPs, anything you like. Very strong integration layer, very strong. Even if you look from an analyst rating point of view, not just from IoT, where we are leaders, as I'll show you on the graphic, in Forrester, Gartner, and McNation, but also even in the integration and API space, where we're also leaders or leaders of the leaders. And that full hierarchical multi-tenancy, fully rebrandable, fully white labelable, fully tenant-based, so you can separate out important information, fully secure. Scalable, highly available. I'm going to go quickly through a lot of these because I've already made a lot of these points and I'm just cognizant of time. But as I mentioned, true multi-tenancy, scalable, highly available, secure, and present anywhere. The key capabilities, and again, we can go through these in further sessions or distributables, but I've mentioned a lot of this: the security of the platform, the full messaging between the tenants, the central administration, the full capability of edge, the full security, all the way from thin edge, and you'll see there's a global open project, to thinedge.io, which we are main contributor to, along with a lot of the main, like Microsoft and a lot of the providers and things like that, where you can create your own thin edge solutions direct on your devices, all the way to the edge and to the main edge processing with security, analytics, etc. The device connectivity I've talked about already. So many devices, partners and customers can go and just certify the devices on our device portal. What that means is that you know that those devices are already connected to the platform. You don't have to do anything. You literally just follow the guide that says, cool, plug it in, configure this, boom, it's done. Again, all the way through to brand new devices or any other device you've seen where maybe we need to create an agent or connect it directly to the tenant, using the APIs or MQTT or anything like that provided. Fully secure, easy to integrate. The complete life cycle of the device, not just getting data from the device, but also managing it, checking its connectivity, when did it last communicate, can we even, in certain cases, depending on the devices, remote into the device and fully manage it and control it, and view it, update the firmware, getting the data from anything, and not just getting it and doing the reports and that, but we can also push it out optimally to data lakes, to your data stores, etc. You can even query that directly using standard things that you would expect and from your BI tools like ODBC and JDBC, and exposed also via fully secured API gateway, as well as feeding it through, as it shows, the machine learning models, where we have that deployed directly in the IoT solution. There's a couple of different options. For example, your PMML models, your R, that it can actually automatically, as the data is flowing through, process through that model and take decisions and feedback. Full streaming analytics, machine learning, self-service. So as you can see, even there, just dragging the operations and building up the flow, and then that will actually do the whole self-service analytics and streaming analysis and real-time decisions, as well as batch analytics and reporting and dashboarding. Being able to create full applications within the web-based client, not just the reports and the dashboards, etc., the device locations, but all the widgets, maybe even forms for inputting data, processes, all of that managed directly within that, either graphically, or even if you want to go all the way to extreme, maybe you've got your own services already that you want to be part of that IoT solution. You can fully host the microservices and your solutions that you've built via SDKs. But again, you don't even have to go to that extreme. You can do it graphically with the rules, with the models, the analysis. And that full, highly rated, very well-regarded integration solution with iPaaS and API management connect pretty much anything to anything. And I do mean that, and I always say I'm the only one who's allowed to say that, because I know someone will make me do it. The thin edge, as I've talked about, all the way from being able to run logic directly at the microcontroller to the thin edge devices, the thick edge, all the way up to your data center or cloud, and very secure, very flexible, very scalable, available, and even tested up to 8 million plus configured devices. All the standards you would expect in your solutions, be it from connectivity, security, integration, from analytics or machine learning, and we're also part of a lot of those consortia and alliances, and a lot of the free and open source projects and contributions. And I think just to wrap up towards the end here, is the whole vision and whole point of our platform and solution is to make IoT simple and fast, but also support that full self-service capability, be it from the device management, the analytics, all the way down to the analytics, and a lot of offerings where it even does things like automated root cause analysis for you. Why did the production line go down yesterday? What were the other things that were happening at the time or before that, an hour before that, 3 hours before, and a day, and let it discover those patterns for you so that it can save you a lot of the time in that. And then you can set the things in place as well to always check for that and handle it in the self-service application. And I've already talked about this, the analytics, both the full historical, the reporting, the streaming analytics, the machine learning, and the predictive and discovery. We have a vast ecosystem of partners and providers and gateways, etc. And we're adding more and more every day. We're also a consistent leader, according to the analysts. So you'll see Gartner rates us as a leader for IIS, Forrester as well, very highly rated, and MacNation as well, especially in IoT device management and application enablement. And I think the key thing is to experience IoT for yourself. You can even go on our website right now, take a test drive with a 30-day trial, spin up a tenant for you very quickly, get up and running. All our documentation, everything is online, freely available, to go and look at and to try out. But obviously, we always welcome a discussion. Just come and sit with you and just say, well, what are your challenges? What are your issues? What are you thinking about? Even if it's very early days, if we can offer any sort of value in that to help you with that business planning, that whole looking at what it can do for the business and then proving it. But again, I say the proof is in the eating of the pudding. So go and try it out for yourself for free, or talk to us. And yeah, cumulosity.com or softwareag.cloud, all documentation, all examples, everything is fully listed there, and the try for free. And that's me. I have a lot more that I could tell you and show you, and I very much welcome the opportunity to do that with you in person, or remote session. But please let us know how we can help. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett, for a very informative session. I don't see any questions in the chat. If there is any questions, will you please drop them in the Q&A box? I've also shared Garrett's details in the chat. You're welcome to reach out to him directly. Garrett, there's a question from Peter Curtis. IoT implementation is dependent on connectivity. What role will 5G play in the future? Speed up IoT deployment.
Yes, I think that's one of the key things with 5G is obviously just the amount of data it can transmit in the same amount of time that obviously previous connectivity would allow. So with certain solutions, if it is vital that all that data be transmitted, it definitely helps having a much bigger pipe or faster transmission speed. So one of the challenges, as I mentioned during the presentation, that we especially face in South Africa and Africa is just the coverage sometimes of that connectivity. And I think that's where the edge becomes very important, to be able to process that on site. But then in the 5G context, if you're relying on 5G for that, if you want to bring a lot of that information back home or to the cloud solution, or to offer it up for analytics or things like that beyond the on-premise, it definitely helps to have that faster connectivity and that bigger pipe. And again, it doesn't have to do that in real time. It can be back feeding that after it's been processed on site.
Thank you. Great. If there's no further questions, Gareth, thank you for your time today. It's really appreciated. We would also like to thank Software AG for your ongoing support. I have a few requests for the presentation. It will be shared after the session. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the content, and we look forward to bringing you more content during the course of the year. Have a great day. Thank you.